Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Friday night of Mariner of Spirit. I am Greg, and I am your host, and we have a very special lady tonight, and I will be bringing her on in a few minutes. I just want to go ahead and mention a few things that I normally do, and it deals with the people that I support, and one of them's Autographs with Tim Miley. And Tim Miley's a special guy. He's a giant of a guy. And he's been a friend for quite a few years. He lost a puppy, his dog. And it was just him and his dog. And when he lost it, he didn't know how he was going to be able to handle it. And he thought about a lot of different scenarios, and none of them were good. And finally he thought of, what about if I took a picture of myself and the dog and my dog and had them all printed up and went to one of the Paracons and tried to sell them just to support the shelters. And as it turned out, that's how Autographs began. And he continued to go from Paracon to Paracon, and then next thing you knew, he was doing benefits himself and having a bunch of people that are in the community go ahead and speak, and it's an amazing story, and it was from the ground level up, and that's what's really exciting about it. And I'm glad he did it, and I congratulate him for it. And he still does it now, and he's going to go crazy this winter too. So it's going to be amazing. So that's Tim Miley, and that's Autographs. Number 2 is PKC, Paranormal Kicks Cancer, Chris Gaskowski and Alex Wilkinson. And they're from that area in Florida that big hurricane went through. I was going to try to go ahead and get a hold of them today again, and I didn't. And I'm kicking myself now because I could have gone ahead and talked a little bit about them. But anyway, they're great people. Either way, it doesn't make any difference. The things that they do for cancer research, they do benefits. They do everything from haunted houses. They'll take the haunted house for a night, and they'll have people come in and pay to go ahead and go in, and all the money that they make will go towards cancer research and all the other benefits that go along with it. So they're great people. I did want to talk to them before this hurricane hit, but just because I haven't talked to them for a while, and they're the kind of people that you'd want to meet on an investigation, and you'd want to go ahead and help them out. So if you get the opportunity, you run into them at any location in that, help them out like everybody else, like Autographs and the next gentleman that I'm going to mention. And the third is the Jessica Petrie Foundation. It's Howard Petrie's daughter who died, and Howard didn't know how he was going to handle the situation of her being gone. But anyway, he started this foundation, and it's a resource for expecting mothers, families of pregnant women with mental illness. And it's sort of versed a little differently than what I had written here. And I saw it the other day, and I was going to change it a little bit because it's exactly the same thing, but the way it's worded, it sounds much nicer. I feel sorry for him, and if you guys get the opportunity, there's 2 people right now And actually, there's a lot more people that you could go ahead and pray for, but one of them is Scotty Rourke, and the other one is Howard Petrie. And Howard's going through a lot of bad stuff right now, and not only with sickness himself, but he also has a situation with his older boy who's autistic, and it's just a crap. It's just a load of crap that it's even happening, but it is. In some way or another, will help him get through it. And then besides those three, then I would just go ahead. One other thing to mention before we bring our guest on are the authors that I support right now. And I add on to it all the time. So if I'm missing a name, I'm missing a name until I go ahead and get my paper updated. But anyway, I want to start out with Bruce Holliday, Tobias Wayland, Adam Benedict, Kathy Kressel, C.L. Carter, Cheryl Lynn Carter, Dr. Heatherly Langdon, Ron Iacovetti, Tony Rathman, Natalie Jones. Boy, oh boy, I can't read tonight either, can I? Patty Negri, Sylvia Schultz, Amelia Cotter, Rex Nielsen, David Sloan, and I imagine that our guest tonight too is an author. I'm thinking that's the case. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Christina. This is Christina Bloom.
Hey, everybody. Lady Mystic, hello. I just interviewed her.
Did you?
I did on Red Road Paranormal. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
a
she's
few days,
awesome.
like last week,
She's
I think.
she's an awesome lady. She's from the Texas Wraith Hunters with a bunch of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
And
it was her and her partner Kimmy.
Kimmy
Kimmy Corpse.
Corpse.
Yep.
Very,
Yeah.
very, very great people.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We're gonna have to do it again because we just had so much fun doing it.
They're really great, and
Yeah.
they would get together. Somebody had asked me earlier tonight, and I don't know why they asked me this, but it was to me, but it had to deal with the Wednesday night show that I do, and it's I do all double Estes sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and I have all these different people, and it's why do I always have ladies on it? And I says that's for me to know and for you to find out.
That's right. And I want to say hi to
It's
Barbara too. I was going to say hi to her.
Hi, Barbara.
Yeah. Hi, Barbara.
So
Good to talk to
out
her.
of all these people that are coming in now, these are mostly all, like Barbara's. She's another member of our Psychics Unite group,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a great lady too.
Yeah.
I don't know who Maudic Mountain
Hi.
M.A. Do
Morik,
you know her?
maybe? Uh-uh. But thanks for joining. Thanks for signing in and
Yes.
joining.
Yeah. See, I got you doing all the work.
I know, right? It's because it's because I swear I now live my life in front of a camera because I have so many of my own shows and I do so many of other people's shows. It's like at least once a day I'm in front of the camera. It's just
Oh, that's
becoming
awesome.
habit. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I got to the point where we have four without
Mm-hmm.
Psychics Unite, and I have two of my own, and then I have two of Reggie's. Reggie Randall. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's
I don't know.
He's my partner in crime. He's a starseed, and
Okay.
he's a special kind of guy, and there's no way I couldn't help him. No matter what
Mm-hmm.
the situation is that Reggie's Reggie,
Gotcha.
and he's a lot smarter than I am. So
Well, we're going to have you on our show, right? Rez has you scheduled on our
yeah,
show.
yeah,
So
in
that's
November.
coming up in November. Yeah, that's coming up in November. And this is another one of my shows, Breakfast with Bobby. We have
With
our own
Bob,
cups. Yeah.
you have your own cups.
Yes, we have our own cups. And it's a different Bobby. It's not Bobby Resnick Culkins. It's Bobby Klebano. So I have two Bobby co-hosts.
So
And
where's this Bobby from?
she just lives in Germantown, and we've been friends for a long time, and we literally have a show with no um there's no topic. There's no, like, it's not paranormal, it's not anything in particular. It literally started out with us going to breakfast together like once a month for years, and realizing that when we were talking, the people around us stopped talking because they were listening. Hey, there's Kimmy. And so we just decided at some point to do a podcast. And so we haven't quite gotten to podcasts. We're still doing YouTube, but yeah, we're on YouTube, and it releases like twice a month on Monday mornings. So
So there's a lot of people that are in the audience. The people that are here have a pretty good idea of who you are.
yes, I think so. Some
When
of them.
when 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 you go ahead and come across somebody that's brand new
Hmm.
and they come to you, say at an event,
Okay.
can you go through the process of how you go ahead and come up with answers for them?
Well, that depends on the question. I mean, that really does depend on the question, because not all of the questions have the same sort of process in answering.
Okay, okay.
Usually, when I'm at an event, I'm doing readings, right? So I'm doing psychic readings at the event, and normally they just sign up on the sheet that's sitting on my table, and I do a reading for them, and any questions that they have are answered within the reading. So
Does that
that's
when they sign up, do they ask the question ahead of time
not
or not?
usually, no. No. Usually I'm doing a reading and people are signing up while I'm reading for somebody else. So they're not interrupting me to ask questions.
You see, the only reason I'm saying that is I've never really done a reading.
Oh, okay.
I've done with cards,
Mm-hmm.
but not in a group of
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
And
It is different when you're in a situation where there's hundreds of people around and there's a lot of noise. And, so it's like, yeah, there is a process every time I do a reading, where I open up my heart chakra and I send energy into the other person's heart chakra. What that does is it kind of creates a cone of not silence, because you can still hear everything, but a cone of intimacy, sort of, where I'm getting information for them and not whatever's floating around in the room with hundreds of people in it. So that's how I do it. And then when the reading's finished, I pull my energy back.
it sounds like a beam of light then, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I do it when I'm connecting, doing readings at an event, and even in person. Because I discovered it just streamlines everything. It just gives me direct access to the information that they need, and it just works really well for me to do it that way.
Do
So,
you know Christopher Fleming?
I met him once, yeah, but I know what he's going through. Yeah,
And I sure hope he makes it.
yeah, me
But
too.
I didn't mean to stop the train of thought
No, that's fine.
because I'm still at the baseball game right now.
Right, I know.
So my questions are not right on the button. When I've always wondered, and when I started working with Scotty, it took me quite some time to go ahead and get through to the point where I was channeling.
Mm-hmm.
But my channeling I use during my spirit box sessions.
Okay.
So when I like if I do an Estes method,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I am fed the information.
Right.
Where normally you pick up a word or two every now and then and that, but with the channeling, it supplies the words for you.
Right.
Did you work with a lot of different people? Do you have a group of psychics up there by you too, like they do down in Madison?
There is Psychics Unite somewhere in the Milwaukee area, but I'm not part of it. So,
But
yeah.
aren't you said Germantown? Germantown's just the other side of Milwaukee, right?
Right.
So that's where you're at?
Mm-mm. No, I'm in Grafton. I'm in Grafton, so I'm about a half hour east of Germantown.
You want to be
So,
closer to Lake Michigan.
yes. Yes.
Because everybody wants to be closer to Lake Michigan when the winds start coming
Right.
out of the northeast.
Oh,
Boy,
I love Lake Michigan. I absolutely love Lake Michigan. Can I just say hi to a couple people in here? Like we didn't
sure,
say hi.
go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't say hi to Rosie. So hi, Rosie. Hello, Morik. I hope I said that right. And Katie and Paranormal Rockdown. I'm assuming that's Chris, but I don't know for sure. So hi. Hi, everybody. And I already said hi to Kimmy and Barb and Mystic, Lady
So
Mystic.
you got your checklist all taken care of.
Well,
It
for the
seems.
moment.
Okay, just
For the
stay on the
moment.
ball. Stay on the ball, will you please?
I'm trying. I'm trying.
But when we first talked the first
Mm-hmm.
time, and we were talking, and you were from up there in Minocqua, and it was like, holy crap, I couldn't believe it. What are the
Yeah.
chances of running into another person, in the paranormal? Not that
Yeah.
there hasn't been people, but I mean,
Right.
we're
From that
on a
area.
show
Yeah.
because there's
Actually,
not.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
Say when I lived in Washington State, I lived outside of Seattle in Bellevue, and I was actually working at a towing company, but I was also doing this work, right? So I was still supporting myself with another job at that point, and um, I met a lady at the tow yard from Minocqua who was into the paranormal in Washington State. Yeah,
So she was given to you.
apparently, yeah, yeah. It
Now,
was pretty
now
cool.
you want to hear something else that's crazy?
I'd love to.
My daughter lives in Bellevue.
Bellevue, Washington. That's funny. It's a beautiful area.
She's been there now for, I think this is their fourth year,
Okay.
and they have two children, and
Good school system.
a
I had
very
mine
good
in that.
school.
Yeah, I had mine in that school system. It's a good school system.
They, I can't think of the subdivision, otherwise I'd mention it, but it's been a blessing.
Hmm.
I mean, they were Denver people, the south side of Denver, and that was a very good community there too, but nothing like what we're talking about here.
Right.
I think, because of uh did you know I think it's Ross Allison, right?
I know the
From
name.
Spooked in Seattle.
Yeah. I know the
And
name. Yeah. I
I
was
met
remember.
him.
Yeah. Go ahead. You met
Well,
Ross when?
I met him when I went into his storefront, because he would do the tours out of Seattle in the old section, the old downtown area.
Yeah. Yeah. I always
Where
wanted to do that tour and I just could never fit it into my schedule. Right.
What was really unbelievable about it was there was a lady who took us, and she was dressed up in period piece, and she had like a lantern.
Hmm.
Now, not only was it a lantern, it was a speaker.
Oh, cool.
So when she was talking, it was coming out of the lantern.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting.
And, the places in the area that we covered were basically the old downtown and all the old buildings and the history of the buildings and that kind of thing. And
Did you do
Ross's
the
Ross,
underground tour? Was that part of the
yes,
underground tour?
I
Okay.
no, no, I did the underground tour a different time.
Oh, that's a different one. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And I happened to do that one during COVID.
Oh, wow.
So they only allowed us to go so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had us come back. So they weren't charging the same as they do right now. But it was really interesting how you could see the different uh, layers of buildings
Mm-hmm.
going up,
Definitely. Yeah.
and the people, and of course the spirit. Because there was a lot of there was one situation where we got into this one saloon towards the end of the tour. We were gonna run, and I was gonna run to the bathroom, and this other guy and I took off towards it, and we got through the door, and I was going, and all of a sudden I thought it was him because I thought I had somebody that was breathing into my ear.
Okay.
And it was like, I was ready to go ahead and say, hey, what you need to do is stop now.
Yeah.
And then I went like, and I did a look see because there was nothing there at all. And, uh, and then he came around the corner and I said, you're not going to believe this. I thought you were right behind me. I ain't, that old,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but we got back outside and we got to the group again, and those people were all, it was like, you what? And we were talking about it, and she just looked at us and just went ahead and said it happens all the time. It's the men's room. When you guys want to go in there, I was just sitting there waiting to hear some screaming, but you guys didn't scream. I said I don't scream,
No, not with
but
ghosts.
it's been a real journey on my end,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that it's been a journey on your end.
Oh, yeah.
When when we talk about, say for instance, the big school that we've all been to,
Oh, yeah. Broadhead Manor.
Broadhead Manor, you think I
Yeah.
could read? I had the B in my head and I couldn't come up with anything else. When we talk about Broadhead
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about the spirits, and I'm going to keep it right there.
Okay.
Uh, it really seems that it's almost like multi-layered
Mm-hmm.
to me, in the respect that there's different time periods, and those spirits are there through the time periods. Did
Yeah.
you, when you were there, I know, did you spend any time in the back by the burial mounds?
The first time I did, but that was a very personal kind of thing. I went to make offerings to the spirits.
Okay.
So, but after that, no, they had apparently the spirits there had asked Bill not to let people go back there anymore.
Right.
So he doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't let
I
me.
thought probably when you went there the first time, they probably went ahead and gave you that same sort of response too.
What do you mean as far as don't go back there? No, I was going back there to the first time. Okay, I wasn't going to get into this, but the first
No,
time,
no, no,
the,
no. You don't
let me
have
get
to.
no. Let me say it though. The first time that I went to Broadhead Manor, um, it was to meet with Bill to set up my son's memorial because that's where I had it, and because I was doing that, I went to the spirits and asked them to look over him and protect him, and passed tobacco to the spirits and did my own little prayer ceremony thing with them, and to ask their permission to have his memorial there. And so it was important to me to speak to the spirits and be on the same page as they are in doing that.
And
So
get
that was important.
a smooth road established. So,
Right, right. Because
you
that's not
know,
something that you can just walk into any place and do. You
no,
know.
and
So
you're a very strong lady
thank
as
you.
far as I'm concerned, and I didn't mean for it to go that way. Jenny Sullivan's here.
Hi, Jenny. Have
She's
manners. Prayer mystic have manners.
she's you know where you know of Jenny, right?
Yeah, I've heard of her. I don't know that we've ever met.
Okay, she's from Ireland,
Okay,
so that's why
okay,
she's a friend of mine, and I
yeah,
started having her and her friend and her partner Louise, Lulu as she calls her, and
okay,
they have become part of the Estes stuff that we do. Uh, and there's Anthony now.
yep,
Anthony's the boss. He's the boss of the Texas Wraith.
yep. I know
Um,
Anthony. I've interviewed him too. So
Anthony's a good
yeah,
guy.
he is. Hi,
Jim
Jim.
Diddy.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Anthony.
So it's really cool, you know, to think that we have so many great events that go on around us,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a lot that goes on just the other side of Milwaukee too, don't you? Don't you?
Um,
As far as readings and that, you have mystic, um, metaphysical shows around there, don't you?
there are some in the Milwaukee area. Um, I don't typically go to those. I tend to go to those that are more north and west. So like Eau Claire, um, up in the Minocqua, Rhinelander general area. I go there a lot. Ashland, I've been doing a lot in Minnesota. Um, some in, well, I went to Mass Paracon, so I did in Massachusetts, some of the upstate New York areas. So yeah, I typically not too much in Milwaukee though. I don't know, just doesn't click.
Do you have a lot of stickers that you put on your suitcase now for all these different places you've been to?
No.
I know that, out of all the places you mentioned, and you were talking about the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and there's there's so many great people,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't think that there's as many as there are, but
Mm-hmm.
and there's some really great people too at the same time. Now, I didn't say hello. I didn't say hello to my boss either, which is besides Anthony, it's Katie,
Oh, okay.
because this is Supernatural Inc.'s one of their this is their network,
Oh,
and
okay.
she she's like she watches over me and
Nice.
helps me, and everybody else that's here does the same thing, but that's around that does shows, but
Right.
uh, I've always really I've known them for a long time, both of them, both her and Katie, and you couldn't ask for two better people to go ahead and have anything like this going on. So, is there anything else you do besides all this? Your readings and everything else. Do you do anything else when you're not doing any of that?
Um, I write. I'm an author. So I have 2 books. Both are on my website. I have one here. I'd have to reach for it though.
Okay. I know
Yeah.
that's what I was hinting at in the
Yeah.
beginning, but it was like,
Yes. So I've got.
so what? Okay.
So this is the first part of my psychic development program. Is this book? It's the textbook for that. So I do
Yes.
teach a psychic development program that I developed. And there's 3 levels to it. It's called Intuitive You, but there's 3 levels to it. And right now I'm working on the 2nd level book. So that will be coming out at some point. I don't have a date yet, but I'm working on that one. And I've got some other things in the works. I just can't talk about them yet because the
Well, that's
contracts
okay.
aren't signed. So, I can't do that. But yeah, I've got a lot of fun stuff going on. And then, of course, time with my grandson. I spend a lot of time with him during the week. And he's 4. And
He's 4.
he's 4. I know it seems like he was just born, but yeah, he's 4. And
He hasn't tried to set grandma on fire or nothing, has he?
no, but he does send me to the kitchen a lot. Like,
You know,
yeah. If I try to change the channel or adjust the volume on the TV or tell him to pick up his toys, he'll just point and go, "Kitchen, mamas." So,
there's a question here
yeah.
that says, then it's from Jenny
Mhm.
Sullivan. She says, "Can I ask what made you write this book?"
Well, I've been teaching the class since 2007, and I've been teaching from, of course, it develops as you go, right? The first time you teach it, it's not as good as the 10th time you teach it. But people were asking me to. They were like, "Can you just put this in a book?" Because I had been teaching just from my notes, and so yeah, I wrote the book. I put it all in one place and made it all very concise and understandable because I'm a Virgo, so everything is bullet pointed and it's very kind of just to the point. It's not a very thick book, but there's a lot in it. So
Well,
that's what
that's
made me
amazing.
write the
That's
book.
amazing, and that's wonderful that you're that organized, that you can do things like that. Because if you saw what this looks like on my end right now, it's there's tons and tons of different information. Yet, there's no file system to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real organization. It's just I have to remember where I left it.
Right.
So I mean, I don't think I have that in my future. If I did, it would be a book on musky fishing.
There you go.
And
Write what
that's
you know.
where, right, well, that's when you stop to think about it, and you know as well as I do that when we get into meditation, if we
Mm-hmm.
have the right elements, it can take us a lot farther
Right.
as far as how our session goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on all a real lot of different water, and I didn't get the opportunity to understand this part of the process until like probably 10 years ago. So, when the first time I tried it, I almost got myself hooked because I was in the middle of I was actually casting, and I was I wasn't really there, but I was there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Sounds
like, well,
painful.
and it I have a history of that, of the pain
Okay.
end of it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that up in Woodruff there in the hospital, they have a couple hooks, treble hooks, small ones, like about that, uh, eight big ones
Oh
that
my
have
gosh.
been stuck in my head and my through my thumb, and that kind of thing. And then that's why you figure that I wouldn't try to do that, but it was it was an experiment for me,
Okay.
my being, for my heart, and to try to go ahead and make that connection. And it's hard to believe that you could be in the middle of a giant body of water like that and actually have contact.
Mm-hmm. I can
And,
completely understand why that would happen.
and it's
Yeah.
been a lot of them were islands
Okay.
and things like that. And it's the part that made it more important for me to try to keep this as a priority as far as where I was.
Yeah, Nancy has a question.
Your thumb with your Nancy, you know, if you knew all the stories, Nancy, you wouldn't believe it. But we just had a little instance that happened 2 trips ago where we were coming into the docks, and I have my own big bass boat, and my partner was driving, and I want to go up to the front of the boat, and I have baits that hang,
Mm-hmm.
like you've seen 100,000 times in Minocqua, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all hanging out of the tubes. And I went by it, and I hauled off and snagged another big one right on the side of my kneecap, and it went all the way in. So we tied off the boat, my partner, and it's like, what do we got? What can we use? And they had a boat boy, and I can't remember what his name was, but we sent him up to go ahead and get something to, because we couldn't get it to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to Kenora. Okay. Whatever it takes to get it out without going to Kenora. And we got it out, but it was a box cutter.
It hurts thinking about that. Like it hurts to think about
but
that. Oh my
but
gosh.
but you know what? It had to be. It was just, and that's what I try to do with the way I feel, and
Mm-hmm.
with how I try to establish myself to start a day with meditation. And if I'm going to do a show and I know I'm going to have to go ahead and put a little more into it, I try to prepare myself accordingly,
Mm-hmm.
like we all do. But
Right.
it's the part there that makes me a little more stubborn. Okay. But it is funny as all get out when it happens. And
Uh,
I can honestly say that it's, and I was a hockey player too, so I have a lot of crazy things that happened to me. So, but when you were growing up, what age did you start to develop yourself?
um, in dreams, actually, as a toddler, I had prophetic dreams as a toddler, and then through my childhood until I went through puberty, and then it came out of my dreams and right out in front of me in the world. So, yeah, I was I would have a dream. It was the same dream, and I had it multiple times, where I would walk into. I was in the dream. I was in my grandparents' house, and they had a home office. But in the dream, it wasn't an office; it was a bedroom, and there was a lady in a hospital bed in that bedroom. And every time that I had the dream, I would go up and kiss her on the cheek or the forehead, and pull a sheet over her head. And there was always a step stool right next to the bed if I needed, as I was growing, I didn't need it, but at the beginning I did. And in this dream, I would pull the sheet up over her head, and then I'd wake up crying. And every single time that happened, some family member I didn't know who lived usually in Scandinavia would have passed away at about the same time I had the dream. So it was, yeah, it was, and it was every single time we got the phone call the next day that someone had passed away. Every time I had the dream. And Nancy, I probably wouldn't have remembered it had the story not been told a whole bunch of times when I was a kid. But yeah, I think that's probably why I remember it, is because the story was told over and over again in the family. Um, and I did want to say hi to Becky. I got to meet Becky when I was in Massachusetts.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got to meet her in Massachusetts. And
Becky's a
yeah,
wonderful girl.
yeah, she is. She really is. And then Jenny had a couple of questions. Well, actually, she said she's going to write a book. Good for you. It's awesome. It is an amazing experience to write a book. It really is. I don't care how advanced you are, you will grow more writing a book. It's a
Okay,
really amazing experience. Yeah.
that last question she asked says, has there ever been an investigation that you could not explain?
Um,
That's
Probably.
from
I'd have to think about it. Have you had an investigation you couldn't explain?
I sort of put it off to nature
Mm-hmm.
more than anything else. When I was straddled at Broadhead, sitting doing a session, it came back twice. The first time, I just had it leave. Said, I didn't invite you to do this. Now
Right.
get off me and,
Right.
get away. You're not invited here. You got to go away. And then it came back. And then we found out later on that it was teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were inebriated. That
Okay.
somewhere that's part of their, it made perfect sense for the location. But I don't know how they died. But
Right.
it could have been a car crash, could have been a whole bunch of different things. But if you can't explain it that way, I don't know how else to. I mean, and then nature, things that correspond with the things that we think about or the things that we feel, and then nature comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. I couldn't even know how to give you an explanation of it. But things that happen in the woods, the
Yeah.
North Woods. My in-laws, their ashes have been scattered on a bluff on Star Lake, and
Okay. I know what that is.
Star Lake was their lake, and before them, and that was my little private investigation site,
Mm-hmm.
was the North Star Lodge. And
Okay.
North Star had the restaurant there,
Mm-hmm.
and it had the what they call the Waldheim, which was the old park, the resort that had the logs, and then it had the big field stones on the bottom, and then it had the logs on top. That was all tore down.
Oh, wow.
the whole place was tore down, and Harry Starr,
Mm-hmm.
who happened to be the gentleman that I talked to for all, I mean, 20 years, he's gone. And I went back. I can't even get on the property. And I go by in the water, and I sort of, just ask if he's there, and I've never been answered in the
Hmm.
last 3 years. But the guy wasn't
Interesting.
supposed to tear down the Waldheim,
Okay.
but he did, and it was beautiful. I have stories about that place that go all the way back. My kids, I 40 years plus ago, I had things happen to me in there. Well, the first one night I was coming down the hallway, and I was a drinker back then. So I had to go ahead and go down the hallway to the bathroom. And in the middle of the building, there was a spiral staircase that was birch and gorgeous and went
Mhm.
down so you could see from up above. And I was walking by, and somebody was playing the damn piano. And I was going, what in heaven's name, and I started getting cranky. And I looked down, and I could see the pedals going. Hey, Carol, I could see the the pedals going. There were two pianos. One was a player piano, and the other one was a real piano. So that was the first thing that was brought up. And it took from that period of time, it took another almost 10 years before I got to talk really heart to heart with Bill Hentz, who owned, that was Hentz's North Star Lodge.
Okay.
And he was my age, and he says, Greg, he says, he knows you. And I says, well, I've been talking to him forever. He should know me. And
Mm-hmm.
then he finally, with 1 year left, he showed himself in one of the old windows upstairs. And he had a white, like, blouse. It was like blouse shirt with a
Mm-hmm.
black with a black vest, and he had a big handlebar mustache.
Is that what he looked like before he left the planet?
That's what
Okay.
I've been told.
Okay.
But he died on his wedding day.
Oh.
The morning of his wedding day, he owned the mill, because this all transpired up there when they were doing all the logging
Okay. So way, way back.
way
Yeah.
back. And he
Okay.
ran the whole thing, and most of the stuff that I know up there on that lake all occurred because of that. And when he died, and now he would play games with the girls in the kitchen. He would come through, and he would tug on an apron or undo, an apron
Mm-hmm.
or stuff like that. But it was all crazy like that. And I'm talking too much, and I think you need to talk more than I do,
No,
because
I like your stories because it really takes you kind of back to home, I mean, that's where I lived through a good chunk of my childhood. Um,
do you have any
yeah.
stories when you were still up there, that things that you
Yeah.
were told?
It's interesting because I have, and this kind of answers the question about investigations. I wasn't actively doing an investigation, but there would be times when I would be in the woods because I lived in the woods, but I would go out and walk in the woods, and all of a sudden I would be struck with just this bone chilling terror. Like I needed to get home and get home fast. And I have since, in the last few years, found out that the Bigfoot can do that if they want to get you out of the area because maybe you're not safe there or whatever. They're very protective of us. So, they would do that to get me out of the area if there was like a bear or a bobcat or something in the area that could have been dangerous for me. But I didn't realize that at the time. So at the time, yeah, I did not understand what was happening. But putting pieces together as I've learned more, that makes sense. That makes sense that they would do that. Another thing that is really, this one still kind of gives me goosebumps, but when I was in high school, we lived up by Blue Lake, so south of Minocqua, a few miles.
Yeah.
And I was working at the Hardee's up there, which has since been Burger King, and now it's empty, and I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with it. But anyway, I worked at the Hardee's, and I would do a closing shift, which was around 11 o'clock. So I would be driving home, and every time I drove home from work, there was a car behind me that had like those big rectangular headlights, like the old Lincolns did or the old Marquis or whatever, those big
Yeah.
rectangular ones. And it would follow me right into my house. And we lived in a cul-de-sac. So it would follow me right up until I parked my car and it would turn around and leave. And nobody else ever saw it. My mom could be standing at the door waiting for me and she did not see that car every single time. But it was like, it used to scare me. The first few times it scared me. And then I realized I was probably just being followed home to make sure I was okay, because they didn't try to hurt me. They never, there was never any kind of no, but nothing ever tried to run me off the road. There was never anything negative about it. I just feel like maybe they were just making sure I got home safe, but I don't know who it was. And then
It was your escort.
apparently it was. But the funny thing is, a couple of years ago when I was up there, it might even been as recently as last year, I decided I was going to go find the house we used to live in, right? So I couldn't remember like how to get there. It's been longer than I care to talk about. But I was driving. As soon as I turned on the road that went there, I saw those headlights in my rearview mirror. And that was like a year or two ago. And it's like they were still making sure I got where I was going okay. It was the weirdest thing. That kind of gave me a chill because I'm like, and I had somebody else in the car who verified there is nobody behind us, but I could see the headlights in the rearview mirror. It was so weird.
You're
Um,
well known up there.
apparently, yeah, that's actually probably my most productive area to work is up there. I have clients that either I went to high school with or know somebody I went to high school with or been referred, whatever. But yeah, it's a pretty busy area up there for me. I have had direct contact with the Sasquatch community up there. Um, I see all kinds of stuff other people don't see. And it's like, at this point, it's like, okay, well, I noticed it, but I don't really pay attention unless they're directly trying to communicate. Because if I was paying attention to every spirit I saw in the Northwoods, that's all I would do. That's all I would do. Jenny, I have not looked up the land, but maybe I should. Um, and Lady Mystic is asking when I started using my gifts intentionally. Probably after my last child was, well, no, it was right before he was born. So right before I got pregnant with my last child. So about 25 years ago. That's when I started using it intentionally because I tried everything else to make a living and nothing else worked. Like seriously, I couldn't hold a job. Jenny just asked, what is your thoughts on Bigfoot? Um, for me, Bigfoot has always been a protector. I grew up in a very violent environment. I grew up in a pretty scary environment, but I could always be like hidden or somehow didn't take on a lot of damage, even though there was a lot of physical violence. Um, always felt like a protector to me. And in the last few years, they've started communicating with me directly and channeling through me. So I have come to understand that they are interdimensional, that they are healers, that they are, I don't know, they're very much more advanced than we are in many ways. That has become my understanding.
You think a lot of the legends or the myths that go across northern Wisconsin are associated with Bigfoot?
I think so. And the fact that there's a native reservation up there, you know, the Lac
Right.
de Flambeau
So,
reservation is there, and there's a lot of spirit there as well. And it's funny because my last trip up there, I don't know, was it September? In September, I actually drove through Lac de Flambeau for the first time in probably 35 years, and it's
wow.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot more cleaned up than it used to be.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
it's much nicer than it used to be. Yeah.
Because I remember going to the casino with a friend of mine who would want to go there at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I don't have a gun. It's like, why would you want to go there?
I lived there in the 80s when they were having the spearfishing rights battles up there, and it was a big racial thing up there, and
Oh, that was bad.
it was ugly. It was ugly. But I actually worked at the Flame restaurant that was on the same location as the casino is now.
Okay.
So I used to bus tables at that restaurant when I was like
Oh,
13, 14. Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that go all the way across. I mean, there's stuff that I know that went on over on the Chippewa flowage and
Yeah.
things like that. Where I have
Mhm.
two friends that I think they're both dead now, but they were the ones that took the picture over the top of island out in the Chippewa flowage that was called Ghost Island,
Yes. Yeah.
and it was the chief on his horse going across the top of the island.
Oh, I did see that picture.
You did?
I don't know where it must have been posted somewhere. I don't know. I remember seeing that though, or somebody painted it maybe. I don't know, but I remember seeing that.
These both of these guys. Well, one of them might still be alive. I'm gonna have to go to Wausau to the Muskie show and see if I can't find them this year. But it's that's the kind of thing that really makes you stop to think.
Hmm.
And Bigfoot, without a doubt, if you go up to Lake of the Woods in Ontario, and I've got probably 40 years up there now, at least,
Hmm.
fishing, musky fishing. And every time we would go around an island, you would get, to me, it was almost magnetic.
Yeah.
I don't know how to else to, how you get that real sort of itchy feeling in you. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
do.
and and we come around the corner, and here would be a little path that came down to the water, and there would be two trees that would be about this big around, and they'd be snapped off about 6 feet off the ground, and they formed a gate,
Hmm.
and we'd go, oh, look at
Yeah.
this, oh, Sasquatch is here, and
Yeah.
we start saying things, and then somehow I would start getting a different feeling. Like whoever it was that was there did not like to get mocked.
Right. Would you like to get mocked?
I never,
I guess that's the way I think
Christina,
about that. I guess that's just the way
Chris,
I think about things, you know?
Christina, it takes a smarter person. Okay. I, and that's what I'm going to say because I was fishing,
Yeah, I
but
get
we were
that.
just joking around and we
Hmm.
weren't, we didn't do it. And then we
Yeah.
ran into if you don't have one really fast to tell, I have one that involves, there's a one section on the lake that's called Painted Rock Channel,
Okay.
and it's got a big boulder that has all these ancient figures on it.
Okay.
That's ancient as all get out. A friend of mine that was still alive back then and me, we were finally going to go there, and we're going to take pictures. We started taking pictures, and you know, there's nobody around us
Right.
for, you know, for forever. You know, I mean, you can go, and all of a sudden, there was a boat right behind us. It was like, it was like not a dugout canoe, but it was like a canoe that had a little, like 2 horsepower motor on the back, and there was a little boy, a brave, that was driving the boat, and in front was this old Native American or Native Canadian or whatever you want to call him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You want to catch more fish?" And we both looked at each other like, "What in heaven? Where did this guy come from?" You know. And we start, well, you need to have this. And he pulled us out of his pocket. He pulled a pack of Pall Malls
Okay. Yeah.
that, you could find them in sea rations. That when I was overseas during the war, and you can't find them. I don't think you can find them.
Okay.
And they didn't even have the sticker on the bottom that shows the licensing or the taxation. But anyway, he went ahead and gave it. He says, you got to go ahead and make a sacrifice and break the tobacco up, and then say a small prayer, or just tell them what your intention is, and then go about your business.
Right.
So we're there, and we're trying to do this, and he's trying to finish up with the pictures. I just said thank you and went back about trying to break up the cigarettes and everything, and then we turned around and they were gone.
Just like that. Boom. Gone. Yeah. I get it.
So
It's spooky.
well, it's things that happen that I have no idea, but and it's all the same thing, with a lot of the locations that we go to.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to tell us something, that's fine. I don't pick up on it all the time, but I mean, we've been to some unbelievable places. So I mean, and there's people in
Yeah.
here. How long have you been on the road investigating?
Probably 20 years on and off. Because
What are-
investigating isn't the only thing I do, because I go to fairs, I do readings, I'm a speaker, I do all of those things too. But on and off investigating, I mean, I was with Whisper out of Seattle when I lived out there.
Okay.
And now I'm a member of Adirondack Park Paranormal Society in upstate New York, even though I live in Wisconsin. So yeah, it just kind of, and a lot of times I just go, with one or two other people, and I am not I don't investigate alone, because I'm klutzy, and if I get hurt, I want somebody to be able to get me some help. So I don't investigate alone, but that it's interesting, because everywhere I go feels like an investigation, because I am pretty sure that there is not 1 square inch of this planet that somebody hasn't died on at some point, right?
Right.
So there are spirits all around us all the time. So isn't it, I think life is an investigation if you're open to it. I do have a spirit box, but that's my only tool that I ever use. And that's new. My husband got me that for my birthday this year. So, that's new. Up until last couple months, I never had any kind of tools that I used. It was just always my own psychic ability and intuition.
Which spirit box did you get?
I don't even know. I can barely use the thing. It's like it's a little complicated for me.
Come on one night. Just give me a call and come on, and we'll go ahead and get you going on it.
All righty, that sounds good.
Okay?
Can I get back to Jenny on something?
Sure.
Because she said that, oh, hey, Jim. She said that she was asked if they have any like Bigfoot when we were talking about Bigfoot in Ireland, and she would have to say no, they have more leprechauns and banshees. And Jenny, are you planning on going to the CryptidCon UK in May? Because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm already signed up and ready to go.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's in a Somerset, England. So yeah, I'm excited
Now
about that.
she's in Ireland.
I know she's in Ireland, but I know how close Ireland is to England.
Yeah, you could probably go ahead and pet and swim across.
So yeah.
No, not really, but I'd
Yeah.
fly across.
Yeah.
But that's
Or,
really
take a ferry or something. But yeah, I just I'm excited about that. And it's a CryptidCon. They have some Bigfoot people who are going to be there, like the what was it? The beauty. Oh God, Jill Bremenheimer, I think her name is, with the beauty of Bigfoot or something. Oh, Jenny says she's going to be there. Awesome. We'll have to take a picture and send it to Greg.
yeah.
Yeah. So
She's
yeah,
she does a great job when she comes on.
that's awesome. I will have to tune in next time she's on.
I mean, between her and Louise, and we do the double Estes, and we break it down into 3 groups, and
Cool.
the things that we come up that happen are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other night it was pretty scary. We didn't know
Really?
where it was going. Yeah, we didn't know because it started dealing with all this stuff that you hear people talk about the world,
Oh, yeah.
and I would rather go ahead and keep everything on the positive side,
Hmm.
and there has to be some sort of explanation besides that.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
agree.
mean?
Hmm.
Because we all live here.
Yep. And as much as
And
we'd like it to be all sunshine and rainbows, it isn't necessarily that way. So,
no, and it obviously hasn't been for
mhm.
a few years now. So, it's going to come down to the time where there's going to be whoever is Saint Michael or whoever it happens to be on a horse,
Yeah,
and he's going to go ahead and he's just going to go ahead and straighten things out. I don't think
interesting.
that we all are in the situation where, because we all believe the same.
Not necessarily,
Well, I mean, as
you
far as
know.
Michael's concerned, I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of people that you can mention umpteen hundred different ones, but Michael
Right.
is always at the forefront. So,
Yeah.
so is there anything else you want to talk about here? We should go ahead and go maybe
Yeah.
another 5 minutes before we
Okay.
leave. 10 minutes. I don't know how early you have to get up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I don't actually. She's saying that from what we had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we are in a different world. We sure are. We're in a, our world is very different. And, how we choose to experience that world is the way it's going to be for us. So I choose to experience it positively as much as possible. I understand that, that not everything is great. I started out in deficit in this life, and I am no longer in deficit spiritually, emotionally, physically. So moving forward, I choose 5D over 3D, and it's as simple as that. We have this split going on, and do I want to live in joy or do I want to live in anger? And I choose to live in joy.
Well
It's a
spoken.
choice. Yeah.
That's that. I think we're like twins in that respect. That
Yeah.
what we feel about ourselves and others
Hmm.
is much more important than what they're trying to do.
And
And
the thing is, we all create our own reality. Like literally create our own reality with the choices we make every day. I just choose to be as much in joy as possible. It just makes more sense to me. I spent enough years being miserable. I don't want to do that anymore. It's that simple for me.
awesome lady, Christina, you rock.
Thank you. Thank you. I really
Really,
enjoy doing your show and I love listening to your stories.
I feel bad that I threw too many of them out there, but
No, it's all good.
it's all related to what we're talking about, and
Hmm.
you come from a great spot. You come from a spot that I could very easily, have my ashes spread just like my in-laws
Hmm.
because I've been around them that long,
Yeah.
and all the stories are the same. And my kids are up there now doing the same thing, and they all have their kids, and some of them are almost grown too. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's
Yeah.
and it's we're not going to give up on it. I'm not.
No. If you want to go to some haunted places in Minocqua, that main street that's now a one way going south out of town, every building on that street is haunted, and I've been in all of them. Every single building on that street is haunted.
You know who Smitty is?
Nope. We've talked
Russ.
about this
Russ.
before.
Oh, we did.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know Smitty, but I know if you go into that the what's it called, like the Gaslight Antique Mall or whatever that is, right on that main street, and go upstairs and walk around, you will talk to many different spirits, I promise. There's a lot of them up there.
We did the same thing out there in Washington,
Yeah.
west of Bellevue. There's a
Hmm.
couple towns out there that had those antique places. They were just.
Hmm.
I walked through the door and it was like I had goosebumps.
Yeah. North Bend, Washington. North Bend, where they,
North Bend,
yep, that's where they filmed what was it?
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. Yeah, they filmed it there. Um, and the cherry pie really is as good as I said it was in the show. But anyway, oh yeah, there are a lot of lot of going on there too. Yeah,
That's
lot of
awesome.
or yeah, a lot of psychic activity going on there, spirit activity.
So, well, if you'd like to stay for a few minutes and we'll chat and we'll let everybody go.
Okay.
I like to stay longer, but I mean,
Yeah.
I know you're probably tired too. But
Yeah. I actually have to
so
get going pretty soon, but yeah.
okay.
North
So
Bend. Becky's been there. Sorry, I'm distracted. Becky's been to North Bend. She said she loved
yeah,
the shopping. Yeah.
of all the people that would be in the room, I figured she would be the one that said she was there
Yep.
because she was there in just south. Bremerton,
Bremerton. Okay, yeah, we talked about that. I think. I think we talked about that.
and that's where she was at. So everybody that's in the chat, thank you very much for a great evening. I sure hope that you guys don't start throwing things at me because I talk too much tonight. Love love Christina hanging there.
Yeah, that's
I
okay. I
mean,
was listening. I was
well,
listening.
we're going to have to do it again. We will when
We
we
will.
get together. So, everybody, you guys all have a good evening. Take it easy, and we will come back in a few. Thanks a lot, Chris. Thank you very much, Christina.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you everyone for the kind comments.
Okay.